The Hopkinsville Goblins, visitors from the unknown. On a humid summer night in 1955, a quiet farmhouse in rural Kentucky became the center of one of the strangest and most hotly debated encounters in American history. A family claimed they were under siege, not by humans, not by animals, but by creatures unlike anything the world had ever seen. With glowing eyes, clawed hands, and an otherworldly shimmer to their skin, these beings became forever known as the Hopkinsville Goblins. But were they invaders from another world? Or something else entirely? The story begins on August 21, 1955, near the small town of Kelly, outside Hopkinsville, Kentucky. 11 people were gathered in the Sutton family farmhouse, adults, children, and friends. The evening started like any other, until one of the visitors, Billy Ray Taylor, went outside to fetch water from the well. What he saw in the fading twilight made his blood run cold. A bright, silvery object streaked across the sky and seemed to land in a nearby gully. Billy Ray rushed back inside, wide-eyed, insisting he had just seen a UFO. The others laughed it off. Until the night took a terrifying turn. Not long after, the family's dogs began barking furiously. The adults peered out the window, and saw a strange figure approaching from the trees. It was small, perhaps 3 to 4 feet tall, with an oversized head, long arms ending in claws, and glowing, yellow-green eyes. Its skin seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, almost metallic. The Suttons panicked. Grabbing rifles and shotguns, they prepared to defend themselves. What followed has gone down as one of the most intense close encounter accounts ever recorded. The creatures, or goblins, as they came to be called, did not attack in the traditional sense. Instead, they seemed to taunt and harass the farmhouse, popping up at windows, clawing at the doors, and peering from the rooftop. Whenever the Suttons fired their weapons, the goblins would flip backward, sometimes emitting a strange metallic sound, only to rise again unharmed. Bullets seemed to have little effect. The siege continued for hours. Witnesses described the goblins moving with eerie grace, as though they floated rather than walked. Some claimed the creatures had long, pointed ears and eyes that glowed with an unnatural brilliance. The family barricaded themselves inside, terrified that the beings were trying to get in. Even the children were gripped by panic. Finally, after several hours of relentless harassment, the Suttons seized a moment to escape. They piled into their vehicles and sped to the Hopkinsville police station. Bursting through the doors, they frantically told their story. The police, skeptical but intrigued by the sheer terror in their voices, dispatched officers to investigate. When law enforcement arrived at the farmhouse, they found bullet holes in the walls, shattered windows, and spent shell casings scattered across the property, clear evidence that the Suttons had fired dozens of shots. Officers noted that the family appeared genuinely shaken, far too frightened for it to be a mere prank. Yet no creatures were found. By morning, the goblins were gone. But the story was just beginning. Newspapers quickly seized on the tale, dubbing it a battle with little green men. Reporters, UFO enthusiasts, and skeptics descended on the small town. For some, the Hopkinsville incident became proof of alien visitors. For others, it was nothing more than hysteria, misidentification, or an elaborate hoax. Explanations poured in. Some skeptics suggested the Suttons had mistaken great horned owls for goblins, large birds with glowing eyes when caught in light, capable of swooping silently in the dark. Others proposed mass hysteria fueled by Billy Ray's initial UFO sighting. A few accused the family of inventing the story for attention. But the Suttons maintained until their deaths that what they saw was real, and not of this world. Over time, the Hopkinsville Goblins took on a life of their own in American folklore. They inspired movies, books, and even video games, blending seamlessly into pop culture's vision of alien visitors. Yet the original accounts remain disturbingly consistent: multiple witnesses, detailed descriptions, and hours of relentless activity that no owl or prankster could fully explain. Some UFO researchers point out that the 1950s were a peak time for sightings across the United States. Just a few years earlier, the famous Roswell incident had sparked fascination with extraterrestrials. Could the Hopkinsville Goblins have been another brush with visitors from beyond? Others see the event through a different lens. In some folkloric traditions, goblin-like creatures have long been part of European and American storytelling, mischievous beings that lurk in forests and harass humans. Did the Sutton family, steeped in rural folklore, interpret something natural through the lens of old legends? Or were they truly confronting something unknown that night? Decades later, the mystery remains unsolved. No physical evidence was ever recovered, no clear photographs taken. But the Hopkinsville case endures because of its sheer strangeness, and the credibility of its multiple witnesses. 11 people, including children, all described the same creatures. Their terror was real. So what exactly happened in that farmhouse in 1955? Were the Suttons victims of a bizarre alien encounter, visited by beings from another planet? Did they stumble into an episode of mass hysteria fueled by fear and superstition? Or could the truth lie somewhere stranger still, an overlap between folklore, psychology, and the unexplained? The Hopkinsville Goblins may never reveal their secret. But their story continues to haunt the imagination, proof that sometimes, the line between myth and reality is far thinner than we think.